About a year ago, I was diagnosed with stage 2 nasal cavity cancer. The tumor was quite large, but luckily it hadn't spread to other tissues. At first, I had to undergo aggressive chemotherapy to shrink the tumor. During the treatment, I experienced severe hair loss. Most of my hair fell out, including my eyebrows and eyelashes. Eventually, I started wearing a wig because I didn't want to look like a skinhead or neo-Nazi. I'm over 6 feet tall and fairly muscular, so I figured people might get the wrong impression. One day, after my second chemotherapy session, I decided to take the bus home. There's only one line from the hospital to my area, so I had no choice. The bus was horribly crowded. Due to the chemo, I felt really unwell, so I politely asked a middle-aged man to give up his seat. He was very understanding and immediately agreed. 2 stops later, your typical Karen walked in. The kind with the "I'd like to speak to the manager" haircut, along with her approximately 12-year-old son. She quickly realized the bus was packed and started looking for a free seat. She spotted me and marched over, or in her case, pushed through the passengers like a battering ram. I knew I was in trouble the moment I saw her. She stood beside me and started this conversation. Her: "Hey, could you give up your seat for my child?" Me: "You mean me?" Her: "Who else?" Ugh. "My son just broke his leg. We're coming straight from the ER." Her kid was standing next to her without any kind of support, looking visibly embarrassed. Me: "He's standing just fine on his own." I'm 21. I need to sit. I just came from a chemotherapy session. Then I shifted my wig slightly to reveal my bald head. This unhinged woman started yelling at me. Her: "Stop making excuses and get the fuck up, you goddamn neo-Nazi." At that point, I was completely stunned. The kid was trying to calm her down as the whole bus was watching us. She then grabbed me and tried to yank me out of the seat. Thankfully, I held on tightly and didn't fall. Suddenly, an older gentleman appeared, my hero. Him: "Shut your mouth, you stupid cow. Do you even know who you're talking to? Stop attacking other passengers or you'll have to deal with me. And anyone with half a brain can tell the kid has cancer. He's not a Nazi. Look at him. He doesn't even have eyebrows, you moron." That seemed to finally hit a nerve because the woman turned around and punched the old man in the face. I was completely shocked, as was the rest of the bus. Her son looked like he wished the earth would swallow him whole. After a moment, the man spoke again, and it was glorious. Him: "All right, let's recap. Harassing passengers, physical assault, and now attacking a law enforcement officer. You're in some deep trouble." Then he pulled out a badge, told her to stay put, and called for backup. Yes, he was a cop. The woman turned pale as a sheet. The bus had just stopped, so she tried to run, but other passengers blocked her way. She also got an extra charge for resisting arrest. 3 stops later, a police car was waiting for her and her son. The boy apologized to me, saying he was sorry for his mother's behavior. I really felt bad for him. After all, we don't choose our parents. The older man stayed with me, asked if I wanted to press charges, to which I happily agreed, and took my statement. He was kind enough to let me handle everything over the phone later, so I didn't have to come to the station. In the end, the entitled mother got a short prison sentence, some community service, and I got a great story, plus a bit of satisfaction. I'm actually on that same bus again right now, heading home after a follow-up appointment that reminded me of all this. My friend sitting next to me said I should post it here. He couldn't believe people like her actually exist. But after hearing my story, he has no more doubts. I should also mention that the surgery went well, and in November I was declared cancer-free. My hair is slowly growing back, and I no longer wear the wig. Another story, not mine, but from my best friend, let's call him Jay. It happened about 2 years ago. Jay came out as gay to his family when he was around 27. Everyone else in his life already knew, for good reason. As expected, his parents took the news very badly. They disowned him on the spot and spread the word to the extended family. Uncles, aunts, grandparents, they all cut him off. His grandmother even tried to remove him from his late grandfather's will, but legally couldn't due to the terms of the inheritance. Jay became the legal owner of part of a property and received a large amount of money. He also got his share of some homes back in cash when the rest of the family had to buy him out to avoid a public auction. According to local law, he didn't need the money. He had a good job and some professional achievements, but it definitely gave him security. He cut all legal and financial ties with his family, but stayed in touch with his sister and some cousins. He always refused family invitations. 3 years later, Jay married his longtime boyfriend. His in-laws were the complete opposite, warm, supportive, and very wealthy. The wedding was extravagant, partly funded by Jay's inheritance. It took place in a literal cave with a live orchestra and everything, straight out of a fairy tale. I was one of the groomsmen. The after party? I don't even remember half of it. I was so drunk. Everyone had an amazing time. Jay asked his supportive cousins not to mention the wedding to the rest of the family to avoid drama. But of course, photos started showing up online the next day. That's when the problems began. At first, it was minor. Angry calls from aunts, annoyed Facebook messages from estranged cousins, which he ignored and blocked. But then hell knocked on his door. Literally. His parents, maternal grandmother, and paternal grandparents all showed up. Somehow they had found out where he lived. Jay was alone at the time, so he had no backup. At first, they pretended to be civil. They asked why they weren't invited, claiming they had a right to be at their only son's wedding. His mother pulled the guilt card. "You took away my chance to see my only son get married." He reminded them that they had disowned him, hated everything gay-related, and that half the wedding guests were LGBTQ+. They dismissed that as a misunderstanding and tried to claim it was just a family dispute. Eventually, Jay asked what they really wanted. That's when his grandmother said, "Oh, you ungrateful brat, at least compensate us for the wedding we paid for." So that was it. They assumed he'd spent the entire inheritance and were furious. In reality, the wedding only cost 30 to 40% of what he had, and his in-laws paid for most of it anyway. But his biological family still believed that money was theirs. What followed was an actual brawl. Yes, fists were thrown between Jay and his father. The neighbors called the police. Charges were filed by both sides, but the case was somehow settled without any fines. Don't ask me how. I have no idea. Jay didn't have to pay anything. He also filed for a restraining order. He told me the whole thing left him shaken. Deep down, he'd still hoped for reconciliation one day. That hope died when they tried to emotionally manipulate and extort him.